The forest air turned biting cold as Ellie pushed aside a thicket of thorns. Her sneakers crunched on dry leaves, the only sound in the suffocating silence of the woods. She stopped, breath hitching in the freezing air, and scanned the dense canopy for a path. There was none. Then, the scent hit her, a thick, cloying aroma of burnt sugar and warm vanilla that seemed to coat the back of her throat. She pushed forward, heart hammering against her ribs, and stumbled into a clearing. There it stood. The house. Its walls were slabs of dark chocolate that glistened with a greasy, unnatural sheen. Windows made of spun sugar pulsed with a rhythmic golden light. Ellie stepped onto the porch. The floorboards were giant crackers that groaned under her weight, a dry, brittle sound. The silence of the woods had vanished, replaced by the low, wet thud of the door swinging inward, inviting her into the dark. Miss Honey stood in the foyer, her smile fixed and unmoving. She held out a cupcake, its frosting swirling in iridescent, shifting colors that caught the golden light. Ellie reached out, her fingers trembling, and took it. The first bite tasted like summer afternoons and safety. The sharp, stinging memory of her parents shouting in the kitchen that morning dissolved, replaced by a hollow, blissful numbness. She followed Miss Honey into the main hall. Dozens of children spun in slow, repetitive circles, their eyes glassy and vacant. Ellie watched them, then looked back at the cupcake. She took another bite, then another. The sweetness was overwhelming, a thick syrup that dulled her senses and anchored her to the spot. Hours bled into one another. She ate until her teeth ached, but the hunger for more only grew, gnawing at her stomach with a frantic, unnatural intensity. She was only looking for the next taste. The fog in Ellie's mind cracked when she saw a small girl staring blankly at a wall, unable to recall her own name. Ellie blinked, the cloying sweetness suddenly turning to ash in her mouth. She backed away, heart thumping against her ribs, and slipped into the shadows of the pantry. Behind a heavy shelf, she found a narrow, hidden corridor. The air here was frigid, smelling of damp earth and decay. She pried open a heavy iron door at the end of the hall. Inside, the floor was littered with discarded toys and thin, shivering children huddled in the dark. A boy with hollow cheeks grabbed her wrist, his grip cold and desperate. "It eats your past," he whispered, his voice a raspy tremor. "Every sweet bite is a memory stolen. Once you forget everything, you become part of the walls." The floorboards beneath them shivered. Ellie looked up to see Miss Honey standing in the doorway. The woman's skin was beginning to sag like melting wax, sliding off her frame. The walls of the hallway turned into boiling, sticky sludge that rose to their knees. Ellie felt her own memories slipping, the image of her mother's face, the sound of rain, the sharp sting of a scraped knee, all dissolving into the heat. She fought the numbness, clawing at the fading memory of her mother's hug, forcing the warmth of it to remain. "We are not your food," Ellie screamed, her voice cutting through the thick, syrupy air. She grabbed the boy's hand, yanking him upright. She turned to the other children, shaking them, shouting at them to focus on their names, their homes, their pain. The house shrieked, a high-pitched, agonizing sound of tearing sugar. The floorboards buckled, turning into a churning sea of black, rotting goo. As the children began to shout their names in unison, the structure lost its hold. The roof collapsed in a violent, cascading shower of sticky caramel. Ellie didn't look back. She dragged the boy toward the exit, her boots slipping on the liquefying floor. The house groaned one final time. Weeks later, the living room felt smaller, yet anchored in a way it never had been before. Ellie sat on the sofa, listening to her parents bicker over unpaid bills. The voices were sharp, the words jagged and unpleasant, but she did not reach for a sweet to dull the edge. She watched the forest edge from the window, tracing the line where the trees met the sky. Life was not the seamless, numbing perfection she had almost traded her soul for. It was the friction of arguments, the sting of cold air, and the weight of real, unvarnished days. She turned away from the glass, letting the curtain fall. Just as the room dimmed, a faint, golden flicker pulsed once in the deep woods. Ellie closed her eyes and breathed, finally tasting the air as it was bitter, sweet, and entirely her own.